Well, welcome everybody that's here tonight. And we'll get going. So there's not a lot of standing that has to occur any more than need be. But we start off every night with the call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. And since we have so many scouts here tonight, between the two groups, I'd like you guys, if you would, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Both girls and boys and everybody.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Thank you all. Oh. And that's one.
Thank you.
All right, roll call, please.
Osborne,
Here.
Bentley, not here. Lund,
Here.
Euler,
Here.
Kushner.
Here. Approval of minutes from February 27th, 2023.
Move to approve. Second.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Just gonna turn them all around here.
Mhm.
Okay, we have several proclamations this evening, and we'll do that, and I'll try to not stumble through all of them. First off, tonight, we have Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Those of you who are representing this group, come on up. You all can come up if you want. That way you don't have any decision making there. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you stand right here, okay? I know him, he makes some really good food.
Yeah.
Okay. Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month,
Sorry, my glasses.
okay? Whereas during Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that our great state's promise extends to all of our citizens. And whereas nearly 4 million Americans have grown up with several physical or mental impairments that have slowed their learning, limited their mobility, inhibited their expression, and rendered them dependent on others for care and assistance. For many of these people with developmental disabilities, there is now the prospect of a brighter future and great opportunity. And whereas new opportunities have been created through the efforts of those with developmental disabilities and their family members, along with professionals and officials at all levels of government. Working together, they have brought significant changes in public perception of young people and adults with developmental disabilities, opening new doors to independent and productive lives. And whereas on February 28th, 1987, President Ronald Reagan officially declared Proclamation 5613, making March National Developmental Disability Awareness Month. He urged Americans to increase public awareness of the needs and the potential of Americans with developmental disabilities. And whereas it is intended to urge those in our community to seek opportunities to embrace the richness of America's diversity by considering the talents and efforts of all members of the community with different abilities. Now, therefore, I, Jim Kushner, Mayor, along with the City Council of Warrensburg, Missouri, in keeping with the National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Missouri Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Thank you. Pictures. Thank you all for coming.
to tell you guys something. My Michael Jackson, you guys want to see it? Yeah, real quick. Wait, hold on, sorry, I missed it, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we have Women's History Month proclamation. I got a feeling there's a bunch of you in here for that.
Oh, shoot, my water bottle.
No, that's mine.
That's it.
Who do we want to bring up here? One from each group? Everybody want to stand up here? How do you want to do it?
Everybody.
Bring them up, bring them all up, bring them all up, everybody. Everybody want to come up. I'm up for great suggestions. Everybody line up. In charge of it. Line up. Who's in charge of you? You, okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
can you give me the names of each group? I've got 1048,
Okay.
but there are other
48, and you guys are
513.
7513. Okay,
That's BSA,
BSA.
Girl Scouts.
Okay, thank you.
You? Okay, you right here. No.
Got them all squeezed in?
Almost. Yeah. Perfect.
You gonna hide?
No, I was just giving people room to get up here if they want.
Okay, well, this is Women's History Month proclamation. Whereas American women of every race, creed, and ethnic background helped found and build our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. As leaders in public affairs, American women not only worked to secure their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but were also principal advocates in the abolitionist, temperance, mental health reform, industrial labor, and social reform movements, as well as the modern civil rights movement. And whereas Women's History Month, we celebrate the countless women who have fought tirelessly and courageously for equality, justice, and opportunity in our nation. We are mindful that we are building on the legacy of both recognized trailblazers and unsung heroines who have guided the course of American history and continue to shape its future. And whereas, despite significant progress, women and girls continue to face systemic barriers to full and equal participation in our economy and society. Disparities persist in economic security, healthcare, and caregiving responsibilities, especially for women and girls of color. Whereas the full participation of women is a foundational tenet of democracy, and whereas it is recognized that fundamental freedoms are interconnected when opportunities for women are withheld. We all suffer, I'm sorry. We all suffer, and when women's lives are improved, we all gain. Now, therefore, Jim Kushner, Mayor, along with the City Council of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Women's History Month. And who gets this one?
We can make a couple copies for both groups if they want.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Actually,
Yeah, we'll get it back to you guys.
okay.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
13, we're going back to the church.
Yay. Yeah, thank you.
I still got more.
Yes, you do. You're not done.
Just glad there's no 2 pages here.
I know, and I did not write that last, just to let you know.
Okay, I can tell.
Did you always write these, or are you the one? Because you do a great job writing these. That
Oh,
takes
thank
a
you.
lot of time.
With the new chairperson of diversity and inclusion, he has volunteered their group to start writing. So lately I've been getting a little grief. But, and they've done a great job. Do we know how to contact the leaders?
Yeah, I can hook it up.
Can figure it out, okay, to get them their proclamation. Through Gary, Gary can help us
Yes, Gary will help us.
contact
I
the
can get you-
leaders to give them their proclamation.
Okay, next proclamation is for Terry Hawks Employee Recognition Proclamation. Department's all pointed at me, right? Whereas Terry Hawks is a valued employee of the city of Warrensburg in his role as water pollution control utility inspector since 2018. And whereas Terry is dedicated to managing inspections to all connections to the city's stormwater and sanitary sewer systems and performing utility locates related to construction activities that occur in the public rights of way according to code compliance with safety and as the highest priority. And he's been busy lately, I can tell you. And whereas in response to unprecedented construction activity within the public's right of way, the city adopted legislation in August of 2022 to manage this construction. And whereas in a proactive effort, Terry, along with John Jacobson of the wastewater collection Public Works Department, have led bi-weekly safety meetings to which all utilities performing work within the right of ways are required to attend. And whereas Terry delivers code compliance and safety information in a professional, positive manner at these bi-weekly safety meetings and streamline how the city relays information. And whereas as a direct result of such meetings, there has been a decrease of utility hits by 1/2 since last August. And whereas the city's right-of-way management has captured the attention of the National Damage Prevention and Excavation Safety Summit in Springfield, Missouri, held in December of 2022, touted by several utility owners. And whereas Arch York, Missouri 811 Damage Prevention Manager, attended the city council meeting on February 13th of 2023 and thanked the council and staff directly and relayed his plan to spread the word across Missouri municipalities using Warrensburg as a model city. Now, therefore, I, Jim Kushner, Mayor of the City of Warrensburg, along with members of the Warrensburg City Council, would like to thank Terry Hawks for his dedicated service to the city of Warrensburg and recognize his critical role and significant contributions in the excellent performance of his profession. Thank you, Mr. Hawks.
Thank you, sir.
And you've done a great job, I can tell.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Mr. Brett Penrose. Yes, you have to come up here, Brett.
Surprise.
Hi, Brett.
Oh, Jim.
Thank you. This is the Brett Penrose Employee Recognition Proclamation. Whereas Brett Penrose is a valued employee of the city of Warrensburg since 1998. And whereas as the city's building official, Brett's knowledge, dedication, and application of the adopted international building codes, including local amendments in Chapter 6 of the Code of City Ordinances, guides the Building Permits Inspection Division of the Community Development on a daily basis to ensure community safety as its highest priority. And whereas Brett serves as the ADA coordinator and collaborates with internal city staff and external groups for a comprehensive Americans with Disabilities Act self-evaluation and transition plan review every 3 years. And whereas recently Brett shared information about building code requirements and permits with Casey Duffinak Troop 400, the Big Dogs, for an Eagle Scout project to build new stairs at the Methodist Church. Brett met with Casey and his dad, Eric, to discuss the application process, required drawings, code requirements for the constructing the stairs to meet safety standards. Brett performed on-site inspection visit midway through the construction to make sure the framing was correct and the project would not run into any issues prior to a final inspection. And whereas with Brett's participation, the church community has gained new stairs that are safe for use, and a scout member, Casey Duffinet, has learned the valuable life skills for use with future construction projects pursued by him. Now, therefore, I, Jim Kushner, Mayor of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, along with the members of the City Council, would like to thank Brett Penrose for his dedicated service to the City of Warrensburg and recognize the critical role and significant contributions in the excellent performance of his profession. Thank you. Mr. Monica?
Oh, I'm good. Jane's gonna help me out.
You're awesome. Wait for there. Thank you, sir. I think somebody got snuck up on there. Okay. Next we have a public hearing to consider sewer rate charges effective with water consumption on or after April 1st, 2023, presented by Ms. McCoy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening before you is the public hearing for the sewer rates as required. And the February 13th study session, we heard from the Rattfullis Group, the recommendation to increase the sewer rates with staff recommendation with increases April 1 of 2023, and then not again until October 1 of 2024. So there's an 18-month period. The primary focus is this to provide the capital improvements necessary to pay debt for improvements at both the wastewater treatment plants of a tune of nearly $20.3 million. And consideration of these, the outline of the sewer rates show them going from a base rate of $13 for residential to $15.28 for less than, the commercial is the same for the less than 1 inch. The 1 to 4 inch goes from $65 to $76.38, and the greater than 4 inch for commercial goes from $156 to $183.30 for the base rates. The volume charges for the residential, the first 2 CCF, which is 100 cubic feet, goes from $272 to $320, and the usage over the 200 cubic feet goes from $653 to $768. The commercial usage is on actual usage, goes from $573 to $674. I'll be happy to entertain any questions. Public Works Director is also here to answer any questions that you may have on those recommended rate increases.
Nobody signed up. Anybody from the council?
No.
Anything to add, Enrico?
No, I thought Marcelo did a good job.
Okay. Nothing online, I assume, Gary? Okay, thank you. We're gonna close this hearing. Number 7, first and second reading of an ordinance. An ordinance establishing sewer base rate charges for the remaining of fiscal year 2023 budget for the city of Warrensburg, Missouri.
Again, based on the recent public hearing discussing the recommended sewer increases before you as those presented rates for adoption this evening, preferably at first and second reading, to allow implementation in the financial system for those bills calculated to go out the 1st of April with those first readings. Questions?
Need a motion?
Motion to approve that ordinance, second reading by title.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing sewer base rate charges for the remaining of fiscal year 2023 budget for the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne.
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Okay, 7.2, first and second reading of an ordinance authorizing stormwater mitigation program. Mr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight is an ordinance and policy to basically allow the city to have another tool in its tool belt for ways in which we can address and start tackling I&I with regard to sub pump discharge pipes, downspouts, and the like. So with this policy, you'd be adopting it and its provisions as attached. I can stand for any questions if you have them.
I just have one. I. What does that?
Inflow and infiltration,
Thank you.
basically just unwanted stormwater.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments, questions? Okay, motion please.
Move to pass that ordinance to second reading by title.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
This is an ordinance authorizing the city manager or their designee to create and implement a new stormwater mitigation program. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Okay. 7.3. First and second reading of ordinance authorizing Empire Electric Services and Technologies to change order number 3 for the east and west wastewater treatment plant SCADA update project. Mr. Adler.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So this is to allow Empire Electric to come in and make some changes to the project that they're already doing. As you all are hopefully aware, there's this SCADA improvement where we are removing proprietary equipment. The change orders here are some programming requests that we found out afterwards that we started the project that we'd like to add into. It's also some wire that they found is not sized right and capable of performing the task that we want. So we need to change it so that they can do the job.
Necessary additions.
Exactly. Necessary additions. Any questions?
Motion, please.
Motion to approve that ordinance, second reading by title.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to approve Empire Electric Services and Technologies change order number 3 for the east and west wastewater treatment plants SCADA upgrade project. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. 7.4. First and second reading of an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to approve addendum number 2 to the Anderson Engineering and Corporation proposal for the design of the Cooper Street Extension Project. Mr. Enrico.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight is an ordinance to approve the addendum. It should be noted that unfortunately, there was a staff oversight that while the conception of this project was known, to take formal action should have come from you all first before we should have proceeded with the project. So we are trying to correct that tonight. In addition to the first addendum. So because it was unbudgeted, that's why I should have gone to you all first. It's good though that with this project being part of the TDD, that it will cover the project in its entirety and staff will be requesting reimbursement for expenses to date. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
And they found no rock.
No rock.
It's a good thing because there's a lot out there. Okay, any questions? Motion please.
Move to pass said ordinance to second reading by title.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and the city clerk to approve addendum number 2 to the Anderson Engineering, Inc. proposal for the design of the Cooper Street Extension Project under the terms and conditions of the engineer services agreement. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Okay, number 8, starting off with other business. 8.1, a resolution of the city council of the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, allowing credit towards building permit fees for attending educational classes.
Our building official and city planner have been offering a homeowners code class every May for about 10 years. And when that started, the council adopted a resolution giving a $20 credit towards a $35 building permit fee. And when we increased our building permit fees a couple of years ago, we felt it was appropriate to also increase that credit. So your minimum building permit fee now is $75. And we're asking to increase the credit to $50. Just to give them an incentive to attend the class. We normally have a handful, 5 to 8 individuals attend the class. And projects range, they're smaller home projects. So people get their tax refund and they're ready to do something at home. So they finish a basement, they add a swimming pool, they fix the deck. These are smaller projects. And so this is a class intended to give them some hints about what the code requires, as well as what our process is like and how to apply for a permit. And so attending the class does benefit staff in that we are able to process permits faster. So we feel a credit is appropriate.
That's good. It's been a good program. Motion please.
To make sure I'm doing this right.
Just
Motion to approve that resolution. Okay.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, next one is Miss Jody's resolution authorizing destruction of records held for the required period based on the Missouri adopted records retention schedule.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We presented a resolution last meeting. This is very similar. Of course, destruction log is different. We have information technology records and we have finance records that are attached to this resolution. They've all met their retention schedule requirements, and we would ask for approval to destroy. If there's any question.
No questions, motion?
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. 8.3, a resolution approving a $70,000 transfer of American Rescue Plan Act funds of the city of Warrensburg to the Warrensburg Convention and Visitors Bureau for local tourism and the renovation of the Warrensburg Visitor Center. Ms. Doolin.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We have been talking about our American Rescue Plan Act funds for some time now. This is $70,000 was originally proposed to be spent with the WCVB to help out our tourism industry after the COVID-19 pandemic. I know that there was a question when WCVB Director Barnhart presented this a few weeks ago to City Council about if we wanted to increase this contribution with some other potential projects that we have on the kind of in the queue. We would feel comfortable leaving this dollar amount at $70,000. I have talked with Ms. Barnhart about that, and she is comfortable with the $70,000. And is excited to continue working on 205 North Holden. I would defer to her for any project updates if you have any questions on that. Otherwise, this will be a $70,000 fund transfer.
Questions? Motions?
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. All right, next we go to mayoral appointments, number 9. Reappoint, and I will chop this up, I'm sure. Reappoint Dorothy R. Vizu to an additional 3-year term to the Diversity and Inclusion Commission.
She's present.
Motion for,
Oh, I didn't know if we need
Yeah.
that. Yes, motion to approve.
Okay. Osborne,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
yes. Parents is not listed on the agenda. Mr. Harris says there are none. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. Do they have anything? It's just encouraging to continue to see employees being recognized for great jobs, even when they get the bus run over them and not knowing it was coming. It's being an ex-employee, it was always fun and felt good to get the recognition. So continue on and thank you. Okay, city manager's report.
Got a couple updates on some more grant programs we'd like to share with you, so we'll turn it over to Barb Carroll for the first one.
I'd like to have Brad, our building official, who met earlier, and Joe Clifford, our property maintenance code inspector, come forward. This is a program that you all approved in your budget last year in October, and this is a program that Brett and Joe have put together over the last several months, and we hope to kick off here on April 1st. So this is a window replacement grant program, and the idea is very similar to our downtown facade grant program, but it's specific to just windows or glass replacement, and it covers the entire community. So it is not just downtown. It could be a window on a commercial building anywhere in town. And the program is to encourage the replacement or repair of those windows or that glass to create a safer environment and a better aesthetic for the city of Warrensburg. So similar to that program in the downtown, it would need to be on a side of a building that is adjacent to a public right of way or a public open space. And so the public sees the benefit from the fixing or replacing of that window. Joe is our property maintenance code inspector, and he is going to administer the program. So he will do the paperwork side of it, make sure grants get paid out. And then Brett, who oversees Joe, will be on the grant committee along with Kristen Dyer, our city planner, and the police department. So that group will consider grants. We will open the cycle for this year on April 1st. Work will need to be done by August 15th so that we can have that paid out by the end of the city's fiscal year on September 30th. And then pending future budget approvals, we would continue this program starting next year or later this year for a second cycle on October 1st. For now, the maximum grant award is set at $600, and that requires a dollar-for-dollar match. So we'll see what the interest is over the next 6 months. There's you all budgeted 3,000, so that would allow for potential of 5 grantees. So we'll see what the interest is and whether or not we feel we need to change that dollar amount in the next cycle that would start October 1st. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we'll be getting the word out and hopefully.
Yeah, how do we get the word out? How do we use?
So we'll work with Jody to put it on our Facebook page, as well as on our city's website. And then I think there are probably some people will mention it too, as we have interactions with them in the regular course of our duties, which is also kind of how we did the downtown grant as well. Any other questions for these guys?
Sounds like a good program.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Who's next?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll have a presentation for us.
Is the presentation down there too or no? No, it's okay.
Are they turned on here?
It's just easier to see for council.
So for tonight, I'll be providing you an update on our street maintenance program for 2023, in addition to the sidewalk improvement program that was recently adopted by you all. And with me tonight is also Dave McCannon, that can also help provide any historical input and also help answer any questions that you may have. So with this, I need to go to the map. So this is our pavement condition index map. And so this is a layout of all of the city streets and that they're color coded. And I'll just zoom in and just pick a random spot. So the pavement condition index is a way to rate and score streets from a scale from 0 to 100. 0 meaning that it's completely failed, 100 meaning that it's brand new. So in between, you'll have streets that just have minor surface and hairline cracks to streets that have potholes or rutting or alligator cracking, among other things. And so with the way that this is color coded, green means that the street, again, is in good condition. Yellow would imply that some type of surface treatment would be needed. And then red means that potentially a full reconstruction of the road. And so I think this will help kind of serve as a good overview for how what the condition of our street asset inventory is. And so one of the things that this ECI map does not show are things like the condition of our curb and gutter, sidewalk, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, among some of our other facilities, such as street trees. But it does give you an indication of the health of our road inventory. And so what we'll be discussing tonight for the street maintenance program is a way to try and tackle this. But within our historical budgets to our current budget, we really don't have enough to catch up. But we are doing the best we can with what we have. So I can refer back to this map at any point. So for this year, we're going to be switching to a conventional mill and overlay approach. And we're also going to be wrapping up last year's seal coat. I'm sure that you all have experienced some hate email and bad phone calls on some of the conditions of roads that were chip sealed last year. So we're going to be seal coating those, and that was the intention all along. We'll be doing approximately 4.2 miles total, with 2.3 of that serving as the mill and overlay portion. In addition to what we're going to be doing this year, as an add alternate, we'll be including the Big Brothers Big Sisters driveway and parking area. So in other words, with the bid alternate, if prices come in too high for that and we can't afford it, we can just kick it off and it's a no harm, no foul for this year. In addition to our street maintenance program, we are adding a little twist to it. We're going to be adding stormwater, curb and gutter improvements, in addition to ADA ramps. So hopefully by streamlining that, we'll only be touching the road one time. In addition to that, we're going to be doing a little less than 2,300 linear feet of curb and gutter, 12 ADA ramps, and 1 storm sewer crossing. So the asterisks with the highlights there indicate that it's a record for looking at previous years, with the exception of the 2.3 miles of mill and overlay. It actually comes in second, but just for fun, I wanted to highlight it. So that the 2.6 miles in reviewing actuals was from 2019. So if we take into account the 4.2 miles we're doing with 118 miles of road, it's like 3.5%. So that's what we're going to be tackling this year. And as we've seen from the map with a lot of red, the more money, the better, in order for us to really kind of catch up. So here are the list of streets that we'll be doing, and I will kind of provide a visual as well. But a list is also helpful. For the sidewalk improvement program, by revamping from its original form to a zone approach and starting to address issues such as the walkability, connectivity, and accessibility, we will hit approximately 9,300 linear feet of sidewalk. And so in reviewing actuals from previous years, that's about 9 to 10 years worth of sidewalk improvement. So we intend to make and tackle issues such as gaps, width issues. If the sidewalk is less than 3 feet, we're going to correct the entire run until it's at least 4. Hazards in addition to overgrown vegetation. So it's really taking a comprehensive right-of-way management approach for how we're handling those public goods. And the other thing that I wanted to add here is that this would also serve as nice supplementary data for our right-of-way ADA transition plan. And as a personal note, I am very impressed that Warrensburg has one. I have come from a city that was 120,000, and we didn't have one. There are many cities that actually don't have a ADA transition plan for the right of way. So I did like the work. So I wanted to build upon this. So within our current scheme now, we'll be able to capture addressing gaps, widths, and the like. So here are some pictures that were just taken around town. So there's an example of overgrowth from vegetation, dilapidated sidewalk, and just where the sidewalk ends. So we would go in and correct those issues. Here's the area that we're going to be hitting approximately. We have strategically played with the money a little bit. So I am a little, I do believe we can probably get a little more than 9,300 linear feet, but we'll see. And I did want to go back to the project map. I actually already have it pulled up. So let's try and find that. So here's the zone. And we've also combined some of our streets too, where we're going to be making the sidewalk improvement with where we're also going to be at for mill and overlay. So from Young Avenue to Gay is going to serve as the money shot for this type of improvement. So we'll be doing the conventional mill and overlay in addition to fixing the sidewalk and ADA ramps. And we also have our sanitary sewer lining and any of our capital projects from West Market. So if we zoom out to see the totality of it, here's where roughly we're going to be throughout 2023. This was a map that I shared with you before, but I think now that it's become a little more real, there's a lot more excitement with it. So that's the total. I can go back to here as well. So if you have any questions about 2023 street maintenance, sidewalk improvement, or anything else related to infrastructure, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, Enrico, I just have a question. So it's like less than 4% that we're able to do because of budgets, but how do you choose which ones you work on? Is it by complaints or traffic or?
So we choose at this point based on where the most need is. So let's go to West Market Street. Just as an example. Where are we at? Right here. So this street was targeted for the CDBG grant opportunity, primarily because the entire road has failed. There is no stormwater, so the drainage is very poor. There's also sanitary sewer improvements that are needed. Sidewalk conditions are very poor, in addition to the curb. And so when trying to tackle where your dollars should go, taking a corridor approach, such as one like this, was a way to view that. In addition to the hard assets, some of the softer ones were on equity, based on trying to improve the area where there is a very low to moderate income. And so prioritizing that area with the sidewalk improvement program, in addition to some of our mill and overlay activities. But right now, with trying to stretch the dollars would be to tackle a lot of our red streets with, say, a conventional mill and overlay. And then for the yellow, we would do some type of seal coat, polymer overcoat. Dave and I have been talking about maybe doing like a micro surface or a slurry seal in lieu of a chip seal. Basically what that means is just a very finer aggregate, so the road is smoother to drive on, and that way it's not as noisy and bumpy. But we wouldn't be rolling that out in 2023. So in future years, we would look at doing that. But that's kind of how we've been tackling it, Dave. If you have any additional information that you'd like to add.
He's good.
That's primarily how we've been making decisions. And so we're trying to make a point of emphasis as well on the stormwater crossing to fix the stormwater before it actually collapses the road. So right now, if there's any ruts or any divots, and we can inspect the storm sewer and realize that the entire bottom is gone, and so therefore the structural integrity of the pipe is gone, then we plan on taking that with it. And so trying to fix it all in one shot, hopefully. So that's roughly how the decisions are made.
Has any traffic count data been overlaid on the condition matrix as well?
No. But I have reviewed some traffic data for the CDBG. So we were looking at how to impact the most ridership. And so on Washington Street did see a lot of heavy traffic counts. And so that was one where it also kind of serves as an emergency snow route. And so there was additional brownie points for those things when it comes to that grant application. So it's more for capital projects where we've been reviewing that data, but not strictly for like mill and overlay.
Streets that you're gonna mill and overlay and sidewalk and curb and inspection and all. To what level of stormwater? Are you gonna, in places that there aren't any, except just what curb there is?
So for CDBG, we would be adding enclosed storm sewer, so we'd be putting a significant amount of storm piping into the ground. And it would actually extend further from West Market. It would go south almost towards Gay to make those necessary improvements. And that was also part of necessity, because if we did not do that, then we would just be deflecting the flooding downstream. And so we wanted to capture everything while we were at it. We do need a lot of storm sewer help. The approach that we're doing wouldn't be enough, but it's better than nothing. So if we improve the street, improve the curb and gutter, that'll at least help shape some form of conveyance for that for the storm water. But the storm sewer piping is definitely advantageous for us, but we just don't have the money to do that.
I'm assuming also that the areas that you're going to do the mill overlay that do need stormwater, that you've anticipated the increase of the water flow and where it actually is going now, so that we'll be watching it, right?
Yeah, we do look at that. So as best we can. There are streets or road segments on Zoll Street that have just failed routinely. And so that's a project that we've then targeted for a future capital improvement plan in order to just fix it in one shot. But for other road segments, we do try to improve drainage as best we can. And then hopefully downstream, we're not making issues, but I think we're okay on that front.
One more. In areas that have no sidewalks that you're doing major improvements, will you add them, or depending on what and where?
Yes, so the idea would be to add where there are no sidewalks currently. And so as part of the sidewalk improvement program, for example, we would be adding sidewalk for at least the length of a block. And then for any future capital improvement projects where there is no sidewalk, we would. So an example would be Cedar Court. That is a project that we have identified that in addition to major surface treatment and subgrade treatment, it does need storm sewer and sidewalk. So we would put sidewalk in while we're there in order to, again, try to tackle the systemic issues of accessibility and connectivity.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay, one question. I noticed that there appears to be two different shades of red. Is the brighter red the more needy areas?
I'm glad you said that, and I kind of accidentally overlooked that. So for the darker green, that is a road that is close to immaculate, as you're gonna get, with the exception of being a brand new road. So the lighter, less good. And then once you get to like a darker yellow, you should do a surface treatment, lighter yellow, really do something. And then by the time you get to a light red, is the red flag, and then dark red, you gotta fix the whole thing. So yeah, it is color coded based on the severity.
Essentially 2 stages per level.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
Excellent.
Good evening again. Before you this evening is the finance director's report. And in that report, it talks about the highlights for the phone system upgrade. When we transferred the automatic payments for your credit cards, we were taking those over the phone. And so we're now transferring those. So those are done automated through the phone system, which has cut down tremendously the amount of time that front staff spends on the phone processing utility payments. So we much appreciate that. I've had several applications for the collector's position, and so we're working on that. And that's something that was not highlighted necessarily in this report, but I wanted to be you all to be aware of that as Carl has chosen to retire. The business licenses this time of year, we've been, gear up for business licenses, liquor licenses, so those are highlighted. And the additional fees that are required with inspections for those that have not hit those pieces. Bring to your attention one more time, I think we mentioned this once before and actually recognized Ms. Denfeld for her diligence with the bank reconciliation. And thankful for our positive pay processes that we have through our banking contract, because we have identified 3 or more fraudulent checks this past week that has been highlighted in this, and pursuing those charges as best we can for the fraud process. Revenue is through the month of February works really, really nicely, and actually through the first part of the year. However, our sales tax receipts for the month of March were the first declination in sales tax receipts of over 5% compared to last year's numbers. For year to date, we're still doing good. We're still meeting budget, but that's just kind of a note of caution as we go forward. And, in those processes, watch that sales tax revenue as the dynamics of our economy change going forward. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the report.
Curious question on the fraud fines that we find is what happens to that? Is there any law enforcement that goes after it or does anything?
There's a fraudulent report filed. I'll defer to Chief about that to kind of expand on that.
We've taken a report on it and I'll look at it and see where possibly the check went to. And see if it's here local or what's going on with it.
All right, just curious.
I think you're doing a great job. For people here that can't see this, but you have it in there that says that one of the checks was changed from $3.49 to $5,000.
I didn't mean to send that in. I'm sorry.
Councilman Warrensburg.
Chief will talk to you later.
Okay.
I would just add to Marcelo's report that one of the things they are taking a look at is our processing. So, I think Marcelo and his first question was, why were we writing a check for $3.49? But also really encouraging our vendors to use ACH.
Exactly.
So those are other measures that we are taking to prevent it on our end as well.
All right. Who's next?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have 2 minor updates. At Cape Hollow, the restroom remodels is going well. We've placed an order in for the stainless steel toilet and sink. They should arrive in about 4 to 5 weeks. So we're moving along. We have been working very diligently in moving the swings at Hawthorne. So we're moving them back. We got the clearance we need. We have addressed the surface issues. So now we're at a point where we've called in game time for them to go in and approve the surface prior to the installer coming. So hopefully we can get that buttoned up. I'll stand for any questions. Otherwise, that's all I have.
I have a question about the Parks Department, but is that part of you?
You can kick it to Chris if you want.
Well, it's just somebody from the Blaine Whitworth Foundation contacted me several weeks ago, and I didn't know if they've been in touch with you about donation for the pickleball courts, maybe, or they've talked to you.
Yes,
Oh, great.
actually, that is something that the park board is going to address at their upcoming meeting. That has been a donation that has been presented by them. We're looking at prices for that. Looking at conversion of a couple of our tennis courts. Probably the fastest growing park amenity nationwide in regards to that. So we've got a total of 8 tennis courts there at Grover Park. So this will be a couple of them that we would convert, maybe even be able to do 3 courts. So we're very appreciative of that offer and the donation. We're just going to take it to Building and Grounds to talk about that location, and then the park board the last of March on that.
Okay, thanks.
So just a couple of other updates. In mid-February, I reported to the council that we added a building supervisor position. Very much appreciate the support of the city on that position. It's part-time, but this addition has really made a big difference in our after-school open play. I guess I would say, meaning it's just little bit more pain. The supervisors have met with the school resource officers and received some very good pointers on working with, let's just say, some more active individuals, and very much appreciate the police department and working with our young men on that. I reintroduced this really because I wanted to just say that we've grown in our membership in the last couple of months. We've added over 200 members, and I believe that has a lot to do with what they see and enjoying that, along with the new fitness equipment we have ordered and other things that we have planned. I look forward to that membership number continuing to grow. And we have a park board orientation meeting this Thursday, covering some things that are very important for board administration. I'm very pleased that we have just about one short of full attendance coming, so I'm very excited about that. And our registration is already underway for spring and summer sports and summer day camp. And park board has approved a 10% off for the NASA outdoor pool for our community center members. So if you have a membership, you have 10% off the outdoor pool. And this is really just one more way of valuing our membership and saying thank you to those who belong there. And it encourages membership to the community center and also says thank you to those who are current members. And last thing I just want to do is continue to thank Enrico and Public Works for the work that they're doing. Very, very pleased with the way things are coming along and working very well with them. So I have, unless you have any questions. All right, thank you.
Well, first off, thank you so much for the $70,000. It's already been spent. Appreciate it.
Yes, Director.
Do I?
Yes, Director Barnhart, not Marcy.
I'll take it. I'll take it. You can call me whatever. Well, tonight, council and council members, I'd like to talk to you about our visitor profile study. We received a grant from Missouri Division of Tourism to do a visitor profile study, and that also includes a marketing plan. We're going to take the data from the visitor profile study and do a marketing plan. What we would want to make sure is that our marketing budget is being spent effectively. We've always said, most of the visitors, 80% or more, that's kind of a statewide percentage, are visiting friends and family. We don't have the KPIs has always been based for us, has always been based on the lodging tax. Well, when we saw COVID hit and the lodging tax wasn't looking so great, what were our KPIs? What were we looking for? What were we doing? Who were we reaching? All of those things. Well, with this grant that we received, we were able to work with Mad Media. And it was something that Missouri Division of Tourism offered to all DMOs within Missouri. They just came back with some of their preliminary numbers. And so I have access to a dashboard. But tonight, I just want to give you a little overview about who our visitors are, where they're coming from, and what areas that we're going to be reaching out to. We do a lot of digital marketing, and so we're going to be able to pinpoint those audiences. 81% of our visitors to Warrensburg come from surrounding drive markets within 300 miles. The average is 303 miles that a visitor comes to Warrensburg. The top 5 states, excluding Missouri, of course, are Kansas, Texas, Illinois, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Our top opportunity markets are, of course, the Kansas City market. We knew that. Springfield, Columbia, Jefferson City, Joplin, Pittsburgh, Kansas, and Topeka, Kansas. The majority of visitors to Warrensburg stay overnight, 72%, and that falls in line with our occupancy rate at our hotels. The average repeat trips is 2.84. And I apologize, I got started and I didn't tell you, the data sources, of course, our phones, where they're pinging, and they utilize the data from 21 and 22. Historical data. We were able to go back. Looking back at just 22 wasn't going to give us a real good grasp of who our visitors are because we've seen such dramatic numbers the last few years. So we were able to use the last 2. The average length of stay was 2.3 days. In-state visitors, of course, stay less than your out-of-state visitors. Your in-state visitors are 1.9 days. Your out-of-state is 2.8. I did ask Mad Media to give me a little information. Let me know. Is this including UCM students? Is this not including? How do I base, how do we determine who's a visitor? Well, the length of stay has to be at least more than 4 hours, but less than 2 weeks. So that's what they base that off of. And they said by the number of pings that a UCM student would have, they would be excluded because they're in that 95 percentile. That also includes Whiteman Air Force Base members. We're able to give them 15 points of interest. Now we are the DMO for Johnson County. So we did provide them some different points of interest throughout Johnson County. That included Powell Gardens and Noster State Park. Top 5, and I did group together our golf courses, which are very popular. Downtown Warrensburg, Whiteman Air Force Base, Noster State Park, UCM, and then our golf courses. And that brought to light something that we've talked about, and I think this will put some fire into this momentum is reaching out to or working with our golf courses to do a golf package, utilizing that information even more so in Noster State Park. That's just a little brief overview. I haven't had a chance to really dive deep into that dashboard. As I said, it's preliminary numbers and we're still working on pulling that out. But Mad Media, again, will be using that to work with us on our marketing plan for 24. So just a little bit overview. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question, but not about that. Oh,
Are we allowed to ask a question to the audience? Bring it. It's so familiar, so I'm serious. But does the numbers for the base, because reservists and guard members that come here from Illinois and Kansas, whatnot, does that skew your numbers? Are you counting those as visitors when they're actually here for work?
They would be considered visitors. If
They're
they are,
here.
they are
They're
here,
here. They're not here for,
they're here more than 4 hours, but they're less than 2 weeks.
which I totally get, and I don't consider those people working hard and for weekends as visitors.
That's why we do it like the last 2 years. So them coming in those 2 weekends, we're gonna look at the last 2 years. So we're not gonna just look at the first 2 weekends of the month. We're gonna look at overall on average. But you're absolutely right. We know we've got those visitors coming and we're gonna utilize it.
Right.
We're definitely gonna utilize that because they are going to Walmart, they are shopping in our stores, they are keeping our hotels going. We love it and we want to keep them. Yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
yeah, just, I was wondering how the hotel tax collection's coming along. Is it going smoothly or are you having any?
The hotels?
Yeah,
The collection.
the collection. Are they paying on time and you're,
I thought you would like to.
Oh.
We've had our challenges.
Yeah.
We've recently sent out letters of reminders, to enforce the penalties that are available to us to enforce on those hotels that choose not to pay on time. So we'll kind of see how those letters pan out and, implement that into our monthly routines for the collection office to try to make sure that we're getting those money on a timely basis and that they're following the correct code processes. I still, it's in my plan to do an audit we talked about, and I think requests from council was to do an audit of those numbers. So to go in and pull those numbers out of those hotels. I have not been able to facilitate that just yet, but that is still in the works as part of this process to make sure that we're collecting all of our money that we're supposed to be collecting.
great, thank you. And I just have another question then. We've talked about this in the past, but is there anything we can do to try to get some kind of transportation service for people that come in by train or they stay at a hotel and they want to go to a bachelor party or they don't want to drink and drive. So anything we can do, or do you have any plans in the future to work on something to get some kind of a small bus or something available?
I will say right now, we're working on what's in front of us, and I will be brutally honest, that's 205 North Holden. And currently with me and my staff, my part-time staff member, that is definitely a need that we hear quite a bit from. We have quite a few event venues in our area, and the lodging is here in Warrensburg, but they're having to be transported to and from those locations. And so back in 2020, which I know the world has changed a little bit since then, we did have a list of private shuttle that could provide those services, but we didn't have anything here locally. So it was just basically me having a list, handing it to them and saying, this is what we know of other than just them going on Google. It would be great. I know that we've talked about the just public transportation in general. I think it encompasses that, but it encompasses so much, because not only just those event venues, but also getting those that come in on the Amtrak to Leeton, Chilhowie to the Spearheads, and some of them do not want to do county roads. And I don't have it in me to guide them down 13 way too far.
No.
Knowing there is pretty much no shoulder.
I would, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
jump in here. Councilmember Euler, I am in conversations with Tracy Braitner at Johnson County Economic Development Corporation Coalition. Can't remember what this last stands for. Anyways, Tracy Braitner and I are having these conversations. We kind of kicked them off, reaching out with Melissa Fry, who's here this evening, as well as the university, and just kind of seeing if there is something where we can kind of come together
Sure.
and provide, if there's not something that we can figure out. We also know for some of our employers in town, this is kind of outside of tourism, but for some of our employers such as Dollar Tree, transportation is an issue for getting their employees to and from work as well. And so it is something that we know is a challenge in our community, and we're working on it.
Thanks.
Has anybody coordinated any recruitment efforts for embracing existing technology that we use in other communities? I just was in New Orleans last week and I used Uber and I used, similar apps in various places. Those people coming in, they're, the visitors aren't going to know about, Old Drum Transportation or whatever, but first thing they're gonna do is look at their app. I wonder if we should look at just recruiting people like, hey, rather than sitting around hanging out, not making money, why don't you go, try to have an effort and maybe a way to recruit those folks and kind of build things that doesn't cost, the public any money. It's just kind of a campaign per se that will help. Now I guess, Dollar Tree, and then they can use the same type of service. But those outside visitors for sure, I think what we use elsewhere is what people are going to want to use when they get here. And it's free to us.
I have reached out to different communities along the Rock Island that have that, they have services, and it's individuals that are doing it themselves. Some of them, they've expressed, well, I really can't make it a scheduling effort to come that way when I'm doing my area, but they have helped us out when we have a bind, when we have people, we've had those that come in and they have their bikes and we need to get them to and from, and I can't quite fit that all in my SUV. So they have been very helpful. And we also have some different creative ways to get people to and from. And so we do work with them and they call us and they're in a bind. We make sure that they get where they need to be. Any other questions? Thank you.
I just have a quick update. The Missouri Department of Revenue released their new sales rate tax charts. And so we have updated some of the information that we have distributed for our 1 cent sales tax ballot question that we have. One of the thing that has gone up, the new sales tax chart includes 911's half-cent that was just recently passed and goes into effect on April 1. So that would bring our, if the 1 cent passes, that will bring our sales tax to 10.475%. And that would rank Warrensburg 168th amongst all taxing jurisdictions in the state versus the 277th that we had talked about back in January. Just an update on that. Like I said, we have updated our website. We've also updated our flyers and just those numbers as we are reaching out and talking to community groups about it. So.
Well, I appreciate you doing that because I know people complain. They say, oh, our taxes are higher, but we have discussed, of course, that Lee Summit, they have some extra charges in their receipts or whatever that don't show up really as a sales tax, but it's still a charge. So.
Yeah, and I think, we saw the map that Mr. Vega shared this evening, and there's a lot of red on that map, and hearing, we are doing, what'd you say, 4.3 miles, 4.2 miles with $450,000. It's a very small dollar amount that we have to put and dedicate towards capital improvement projects.
So part of the sales tax would go to capital improvement in addition to the benefits. Okay,
That's correct. So half of that 1 cent will go towards public safety
yes,
and the other half will go towards capital improvements.
thank you.
That is all I have this evening, Mayor Fisher and City Council.
Is there any update on solid waste studies?
There's some information in my city manager's report section. There will be community surveys going out. Hopefully they go live this week on the city's webpage. And we'll get that information pushed out through Facebook as well when those links are live. They are not live yet. And then there will be a public open house where the public will be invited to come and give input and learn more about the process and what we're considering on April 11th here in the chambers. And I believe that's from 5 to 7 p.m. And then you all will have a study session prior to the second meeting in April, immediately prior to your council meeting. You'll have a study session with the consultants that evening to discuss progress up to that point and the public feedback that has been received for roughly the last 4 to 5 weeks at that point.
Okay, thank you. Looks like the last thing to do is adjourn. Number 13. Thank you all for being here.